Tov, everyone. As is well known to everyone, this week's parsha contains more mitzvahs specifically than any other parsha in the Torah. There's 74 mitzvahs. It's like 12, 13% of all of the Torah. One of the mitzvahs in the Torah is that of Shiluach HaKan. If a person comes across a nest of birds and the mother bird has either unhatched eggs or recently hatched eggs that are now the small birds, and the person wants to take away the eggs or the birds, so the Torah says he has to send away the mother. Send away the mother. So this is a rare mitzvah, especially people who live in urban areas. But once in a while, the opportunity arises everywhere. That there is this nest and it has the mother bird and it has the eggs, etc. So you send away the mother bird, pick up the eggs, take them, then you don't want the eggs, you put them back, the mother bird will eventually return, and that you will mekayim the mitzvah, and nothing much happened. So what is this mitzvah based upon? Is there a reason for it? So this is a general question regarding all mitzvot. So we have an entire literature in rabbinic tradition, Tamei HaMitzvot, that come to explain the mitzvah. So for instance, Sefer HaChinuch on the Torah counts all 613 mitzvot and gives a reason for every mitzvah. The exception being the chok of Parah Aduma, which the Torah itself says is unfathomable, that we don't know anything about. That's one stream, Tamei HaMitzvot. Basically, it's an understanding that Judaism has a logical basis, a rational basis. The Rambam holds that the basic idea in Judaism is Laman Das, to know God, to know, to understand, so to speak, to have a rational understanding of Judaism. Now, there's a stream that is completely opposite to that. So you'll find in the Rambam, for instance, that he gives reasons for everything. If you look in the Moreh Nevuchim, the Rambam says the primary reason for mitzvot is that we should not fall into avodah zarah. Avodah Zorah, he says, is an irrational view of life, an irrational view of faith. That's why it has superstitions, it has magic, it has all sorts of things associated with it, because it is irrational, so therefore it's based on the irrational. And he says, Lo chei nosam l'cho Hashem Elokecha. The Rabbanu Shalom did not give us a Torah that is irrational, that we cannot understand what is involved. And therefore, our task is to search out the relevance, the meaning, the understanding, the halachic implications that mitzvahs give us. However, I think it would be safe to say that a great majority of the Jewish people over the ages have not followed the Rambam in this manner. And that life is too mysterious. Too many things happen that are beyond our rational understanding. And therefore, since life itself is always the unexpected and the irrational, so therefore the Torah that was given us comes to combat that. So to speak, we're combating the irrational with the irrational. And therefore, that's what mitzvahs are. Mitzvahs are the tzivui Hashem, what God commanded us, L'man tov l'cho kol hayomim, and he did it for our benefit. And we are like small children who the parents tell you what to do, so to the child it makes no sense. Why should I go to, the child doesn't want to go to the doctor. The child doesn't want to take the medicine. The child doesn't want to go to school. But since it's, so to speak, for the ultimate benefit of the child, we have no qualms in enforcing it, in raising children that way. So too, Bani Matem L'Hashem Elokeichem, we are God's children. So God tells us, you do this, you do that, you do that. Even if you don't understand, even if it makes no sense, do it, it's good for you. And you'll do it. In the end, it is what is good for us. So there's a Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah regarding Shiluach HaKan, regarding this mitzvah of sending the bird away and of taking the eggs. So the Mishnah says, in the time of the Gemara, the Shliach Tzibur was allowed to insert prayer into the prayer. In other words, the Amidah, the Shmona Esrei, the 19 brachas was established, but if you wanted to add a chapter of Tehillim in the beginning or a chapter of Tehillim in the end, or even in the 19 brachas, if you wanted to pray for something specific, like in Shema Koleinu. So you were not only allowed to do so, you were encouraged to do so. So the Mishnah quotes that there were Shlichei Tzibur that would say, Al kan tzipor yagiu rachamecha, kein terachem aleinu. We see, God, that you are so merciful, that even on the nest of the birds, you send the mother away, so it should not be there when you take the eggs for yourself. So that the mother shouldn't have tsar. The same way that you are merciful to the mother of the bird, to the mother bird, so too, be merciful to us. So that, in effect, is giving a reason for the mitzvah. The reason for the mitzvah is to teach us the quality of mercy. That even when it comes to a bird, let alone a human being, when it comes to a bird, we don't want to be mitzayer. We don't want to give pain to the bird. So the Gemara says, the Mishnah says, if a chazan does that, mashtiki knows so. You tell him to be silent. Don't do that again. And then there's another girsa, maviri knows so. You fire him. You don't let him go to the Yomad again. Because he's making mitzvahs rachamim. He's giving us reasons for mitzvahs. And so once we start down that road, that every mitzvah has to be merciful, so who knows where we end up. So that's the basis for those who oppose the Rambam. They said that the Rambam makes everything rational, so then we end up that mitzvahs are cancelable because they're no longer rational to us. That, in effect, is what happened in the 18th and 19th centuries, in Germany especially, where reform predominated. Reform said, yes, the mitzvahs were important, but the mitzvahs were for a reason, and the reason is no longer there. I remember when I was a child, it was non-observant Jews always said that the reason for not eating pork or ham was because pigs contained trichinosis. They had a worm that was very harmful. But they said now in our time, when there is no trichinosis available, so there's no Isser involved either. And if you go down that road is a very slippery slope. And after a while, there are no mitzvahs. It's only what human beings think. Whatever we think is good, that's what the religion is. So the religion is no longer from on high. The religion is only a product of the people themselves. And that basically is what has happened in Western society today. Is that we've substituted human ideas, which could be current and relevant and understandable for 100 or 200 years, but then are no longer understandable. But that became the basis for our society. And then everything else disappears. So therefore, this Mishnah came to teach us that we should not do that. However, over the ages, this divergence of views regarding mitzvot has remained alive, certainly in rabbinic literature. To what extent are we allowed, or even according to the Rambam, are we supposed to investigate the reasons for the mitzvahs? And the attitudes over the years have changed. And in the 16th century, when Kabbalah arose and became popular, so that is a different layer. We don't see mitzvahs rationally. We don't see mitzvahs in this world. We see mitzvahs as being some sort of ethereal idea that when you do it, somehow it affects worlds that you're not aware of. And that was part of the objection that the Gaon of Vilna and others had to Chassidus in its original form, because of the fact that somehow it mystified the whole Torah. And once you deal with mystery, there's a lot of room for charlatans, a lot of room for fakers. And that's what Shabtai Tzvi did to the idea of messianism, which we suffer until today. I think that Shabtai Tzvi put Mashiach on the back burner for hundreds of years. And for whatever consequences that has. But Shabtai Tzvi is based on irrationality. On the other hand, if you're over-rational, you explain every mitzvah rationally, you run into other problems. They're just as serious. So that's a very delicate matter. And the Gemara explains it and touches upon it, but does not solve it for us. And there are many things in life that are not solved, but that should be thought about, and that should be considered in our approach to mitzvahs and to Torah and to the Jewish world in general. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer Zakari Baruch Hu Zakas Yisrael Leficha Here Balahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Anach Veit Sitkol Yavut Torah Yadir.